Hi everyone, and welcome to our second talk of today. This is our evening talk, as usually scheduled at 6:30 p.m. every Sunday. I'm one of your
Pacific
two
time.
Pacific time. Thank you. That is so important. Specifically daylight time right now, at least
Yes.
till September-ish. I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll get there when we get there. I am one of your two hosts, Nor Kyle.
And I am the other one of your two hosts, Mushtaq Ali.
Yeah. So, the spiel.
The spiel. I did the morning spiel, he said pointedly.
Pointing. Yes, so if you are here for the first time, thank you so much for being here. We are so happy to have new people, and we are also so happy to have all of our familiar faces here. And it's wonderful to see some of you twice today. I'm glad you were able to make it. We, if you are watching on YouTube, have a request to make of you, which is the usual request, which is if you feel up for it, you can like our video, especially if you did like it. We really appreciate that feedback.
But
You
even if you don't like
can,
it, go ahead and like it anyway.
yeah, we have a troll who likes to come through and give us a dislike on our Gurji focused videos. We were having a chat about that earlier. We think it's more amusing than anything else, but we would appreciate it if you could nonetheless help us counter, this unwanted negativity that we do appreciate as feedback, but that we find kind of petty, actually.
Well, it's not really feedback because all he does is hate, hate. He doesn't
Yeah,
tell us what he doesn't like.
I mean, that's not exactly helpful.
No, I mean, we would listen
Yeah,
as long as he was
and
polite.
right, which is to say that we do welcome, constructive feedback on our videos, any of them. And we appreciate that, especially in the comments. We respond to every comment we possibly can as long as we understand it. We've added a few guidelines in our
Yeah,
comment
it'll be
section.
pinned to the comments.
Yeah, just to help us all out. And of course, if you feel like seeing our content on the regular, you can subscribe. We certainly appreciate that too. And for interaction off of YouTube, if you want to keep in touch with all the other things that we're doing, you can join our email list or our Facebook forum, both of which are linked in the description you'll find below. Anything else I need to add?
Sometimes we give away amusing prizes. Yeah,
Yeah, amusing prizes, yes.
amusing prizes.
Surprises that only you will know about when you receive
Yeah,
them.
so here's the thing. Soon we are going to do an Ask Me Anything Sunday. And if you have any questions for either of us, or both of us, or none of us, you could ask questions of somebody else if they're here. All you have to do is put the question in the comment. And if we can get to it, we will.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess that could be an ongoing thing. You could email that question to us as well.
Yeah, you could email that question to us. You could send it to us on the forum, any of those things. But for those of you who are not on the forum and not on our email list, you can use the comments below and ask us the question. Because we would like to spend an hour answering the questions that you have.
Yep.
Yeah.
So keep an eye out for that. We'll keep you informed. And with that, I think that's it for announcements
I
and
hope so.
spiels and
Yeah.
such. So we can move on to our topic of the evening, which is a part two from what we discussed last Sunday evening when we went through 26 verses of Mushtaq's translation of the Spanda Karika. He's put a lot of effort into it. I've done some of
Yeah.
the editing, of course, but I think
Yeah,
what you
this
guys...
is a years long project. And I
Yes.
am really happy to tell you that we inspired Wael, who some of you know from our videos, and he is now translating this into Arabic. And I've read over the first 20 or so verses of it, and it's brilliant. It's really good. It helps to have a poet on your team.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It really does. And we have posted a copy of this on the forum. It is not, I took a look at it today. It is unfortunately not our most complete edit of these verses, but it is complete in the sense that all 52 are there. You'll be able to read it and understand what it's saying.
Yeah, and it gets better every time we go over it. I go back to the original on a fairly regular basis. If anybody wants the original Sanskrit, you can send me a DM on Facebook, and I will send you a PDF copy of it. I'm saying that mostly for our Indian friends, because they're the only ones who could probably read it. But it's good to have the original to start from.
Yeah.
And that way they can see how far afield I've gone. And go, what the hell are you doing with this?
What have you done? Yes. All right. So we should. Yeah, we are picking up from roughly
Verse 27.
Verse 27, which is connected to verse 26. So
So I'm going to start with verse 26. And I will tell you that if you listened to this morning's talk, you will have heard us say that the reason that we're doing the Spanda Karika is that it is an instruction manual on how to wake up your ego and begin to move from mechanical, egoic existence to the existence of the essence. That's what it's all about. And it is an excellent instruction manual for this. That's why we're doing it. That's why we were interested in it in the first place. So bear that in mind, and you might want to listen to the talk we did this morning if that sort of thing interests you. So, are we ready?
Yeah.
Shall we dive right into this?
Let's go for it.
Okay, I'm going to start with 26 again, which says, mantras of the various deities, when they are charged with the power of the universal vibration, accomplish their function through the senses of the yogi. Freed from identification, they become united within the awareness of the yogi, becoming one with the nature of Shiva Shakti. The self of the yogi is identical with the universal consciousness, experiencing all subjective selves as one. Thus, there is no state that can be experienced that is not Shiva Shakti. So let's look at these three. Last week we talked about the idea of using the power of the universal vibration. You can charge the various mantras and make them actually work for you. And they work specifically through the senses. Now, freed of identification, they become united within the awareness of the yogi. And they, in this case, is the ego and the essence, becoming one with the nature of Shiva Shakti. The self of the yogi is identical with the universal consciousness. And the word self here, you could also say the essence of the yogi is identical with universal consciousness, experiencing all subjective states as one. Thus, there is no state that can be experienced that is not Shiva Shakti. And what this is talking about is the true awake state, the state where essence is completely present in a sustained manner. Then we get to 29. It is the experiencer that abides in the form of the experienced, universal being experiencing itself on the field of existence. Let me read that one again. It is the experiencer that abides in the form of the experienced, universal being experiencing itself on the field of existence. So the only way essence can really reflect itself to itself is in this weird existence that we have here. And the idea of the experiencer abides in the form of the experienced is when you are awake and witnessing what is experienced. So, 30. Always present to the reality of universal consciousness that she perceives as the play of Shiva Shakti, the yogi is liberated while in the midst of life. This one is really important. Always present to the reality of universal consciousness that she perceives as the play of Shiva Shakti, the yogi is liberated while in the midst of life. It doesn't say enlightened, right? It doesn't say extinguished. It says liberated. The root of the word that is used here is moksha, to be freed from. Always present to the reality of universal consciousness, always there, realizing that the being that experiences this is universal in nature. And while it can be perceived as I, it is the everything that is behind the I as well. Does this make sense so far?
Yeah, let's take a moment.
Yeah, let's take a moment and think about what we just went through.
Sticky.
Yeah, I was thinking about Halwat dar Anjuman. Is that
Yes.
sounds similar?
It is a part of that, to be inwardly in the presence of the one reality, to be inwardly expressing the one with that one reality, while outwardly playing in the world.
And we are referring to one of the 9 precepts of the Kwajagan,
Yes.
right? For people who don't
Yeah,
know.
which is Khalwat dar Anjuman,
Yeah.
solitude in the crowd.
We have a playlist on that if people want to
Yeah.
check that out.
It's actually kind of important to the work we do.
Yeah, so we can add that to the...
Is it the same as to be in the flow?
I would say kind of yes. That is where I most experience flow. So if it's not the same, it's like kissing cousins. Do you have kissing cousins in the Netherlands? Do you know what that phrase means?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Lavita, what do you think? Your brain must be full by now.
I'm over here trying to figure out how I'm going to get my brain out of the carpet.
Ilmar, I know you have thoughts.
Yeah, not so much thoughts as I guess an interest in exploring in some detail some of the stuff.
Good. Help us clarify this.
In particular, let's take the 29. I mean, that suggests to me that universal consciousness, or whatever we're calling it, really can possibly understand itself and certainly experience itself only from, I don't want to say alienated, but only from viewpoints which are, in some sense, separated out from. Right?
It kind of implies that, doesn't it? Yeah.
Yes.
It's
And
like
that
you
makes
need,
sense.
yeah, you need this thing that you can pretend is separate from you in order to see you.
Right. And in order to see anything, I mean, if we had every possible viewpoint looking at, say this mug of water here, I mean, what we would get is some hodgepodge, which wouldn't really make any sense. It takes a separation of viewpoints in order to be able to distinguish detail, I guess it is.
Yeah.
It sounds to me what 29 is saying, in part at least, is that in order for whatever it is, universal consciousness, to know itself in full detail, at least, it requires a separation of viewpoints. The separation is a kind of a tentative separation. I mean, it's a kind of almost like a make-believe separation, but still,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
separate viewpoint. It's a different viewpoint from which these things are being viewed. Am I getting that about right?
I think so. And in my own experience, those times when I have hit pure universal awareness, I've been kind of non-functional while in that state because nothing really matters. There's nothing to push against. Reality is something that being can push against, even though reality is not real, but we can exercise our muscles against it in a way.
Yeah, reality as separate isn't real.
Yeah. No, it's
So-
all made up of, that's
Yeah.
one of the points of this document is that it's all made up of the universal vibration. Everything that is Spanda.
Yep.
Just doing the dance.
But for there to be a dance with
You
presumably,
have to imagine a partner, yes.
that's right. I mean, I think there's a famous thing of Rumi's that I sometimes use. That in order to experience stillness, you've had to fully be able to dance. In order to dance well, you have to have stillness. And there is that interesting combination of both of those that seems to be required.
Yeah,
But it makes
exactly
logical
that.
sense. It makes logical sense. So it makes logical sense, just from pure perceptual view. I mean, in order to have, a view of something, we need to have a viewpoint, and the smushing together of all viewpoints gives us essentially nothing distinct to see.
I think you have the right of it. I hate to not
Well, in that
disagree with
case-
you, but
In
what
that case,
can
I'll
we
take my
do?
laurels and mute and shut up.
Good. Any other thoughts or questions?
Zainab, what do you think?
No questions at the moment.
Any answers? No?
Not yet. We'll put it
Not
that
yet.
way. Not yet. Cool.
Aaron has something to say.
Yeah, Aaron says, I was thinking along what Ilmar said as well. So, there you go. Nobody's arguing with you today, Ilmar, at least not so far.
Maybe later.
What
You
I
must
want
have
to say is
intoxicated them
that,
all this morning.
what I want to say is a comment
Yeah, Amy.
on Gilmore is that you can also take a viewpoint to see all your perspectives, So you're witnessing all the perspectives what you have or what you use.
Simultaneously?
Yeah,
I wonder what you get.
you can observe it.
It should be noticed that this might take a little practice.
I'm not sure I heard all of what was said. Would it be okay to repeat it, Ailey? Or if that's not working?
I notice you can also, you, if you are one with the universe, from that point of view, you can see all the choices you can make to deal with the situation.
Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
reiterating that. And now I see why
Yeah,
Rishab
and there's
said
some wisdom in that. Yeah.
there might take time to get there.
Yeah.
Yes.
But there is wisdom there. So now we get to some of the really fun stuff.
Yes, everyone.
31. Through the intensity of profound meditation, the yogi experiences oneness with the universal vibration as the object of meditation. So meditation requires an object of some sort, even if the object is subject. So when the universal vibration, when Spanda becomes the object of meditation, interesting things happen. 32 says, this alone is the attainment of the Amrita, the flow of Samadhi, which reveals to the yogi her own nature as Shiva Shakti. So, two words there, Amrita, or also pronounced Amrit, depending on if you have a terrible accent or not, is the elixir of immortality. And some people say that your body will actually, under certain circumstances, produce it. And that's, I mean, you could climb some mountain somewhere in a mythical land and maybe find a flower that has as its nectar the Amrita, or not, but you could produce it inside yourself through profound meditation. And this tells you what you want to know right here. This alone is the attainment of the Amrita, the flow of Samadhi, which reveals to the yogi her own nature as Shiva Shakti. To be in the practice of Samadhi is to be in flow, in deep, profound flow. And when you are using the Spanda as the object of your meditation and you hit this flow, it can, and some say does, create the Amrita within your body. And it also reveals the essential, the essence as connected to this idea of Shiva Shakti, to this interplay of movement and stillness within the core of the universe. Then 33, the oneness with Shiva Shakti that manifests the universe allows the embodied, awakened yogi to be fulfilled through the rising of the sun and the moon. In this sense, it means prana and apana. Prana, in this case, is the rising breath or the breath of the inhale, and apana means the breath of the exhale. And the sun path and the moon path, which in a certain sense refers to the Ida and Pingala, all sorts of different stuff. But what you need to know is that this is talking about it manifests in your breath. Then 34, also in the dream state, Shiva Shakti appears in the central Nadi and reveals the desired knowledge to the yogi. So, this means two things. The central Nadi is the Sushumna, the tube that goes from the tailbone up through the crown of the head. And what it's saying that when it's talking about the dream state here, it means literally in the consciousness that is dreaming, as opposed to being in the waking dream. Shiva Shakti appears in the central Nadi, in the central part of yourself, and reveals the desired knowledge to the yogi. This means that in this state, when you have mastered these things, at least to a certain extent, you will acquire knowledge on a spiritual level. Don't take yourself too seriously as it happens, but it will happen. And this next line, 35, addresses this. But if she is not present, the yogi will be distracted by the play of manifestation, and she will experience the illusionary state of the unawakened throughout waking and sleeping. Let's look at that one again. But if she is not present, the yogi will be distracted by the play of manifestation, and she will experience the illusionary state of the unawakened throughout waking and sleeping. Now, this morning we talked a lot about this. The idea of, in order to really do the work, you have to be awake, if only for a moment. And we went through one of the processes by which you can be awake. And you're going to have to go and watch the video to find out what I'm talking about, because I'm not going to do it again. Why should I? Waste my time. Go watch the video. Waste your time. But this idea that if you experience this in the awake state, it exalts you. It puts you in a position where in waking and sleeping, you are learning, you are being given knowledge. But if you are not present, if you are the person who is present at the beginning of the state and the end of the state, but not in the middle, as we were talking about last week, it's all just illusionary.
Yeah.
You're just going to experience it as unawakened.
So I saw, Ilmar, that you were unmuted, but I do want to touch in on Mustaqim's question, which is kind of related to what you were just saying, Mushtaq, which is,
Okay.
what is profound meditation and how do we make universe... Okay, I'm not quite sure I understand this. How do we make universal vibration as objective meditation? Okay.
Okay. So profound meditation is being focused in 3 points: presence, attention, and intention. We also talked about this morning, so go listen to the tape from this morning.
Video, yeah.
Yeah, the video. So how do we use that? We create the presence. One way is to use mantra or zikr. So if it were me, I would do exactly this. I would wake myself up, and then I would find the sound that I most associate with the universal vibration, which for me is who. So I would literally find it, and on my breath I would go, and I would listen. I would listen to that sound with full attention, full presence, full attention. I would intend for that sound to mirror the universal vibration. And after I did that for a little bit of time, it would begin to do so. And I would do it vocally, not just in my mind, but with my voice. That's the whole point of vocal zikr, is to be able to tune into this.
You're using a little bit of overtone singing in there.
It is in my nature to do that. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, you all are not expected to be able to do things like that or make it anything fancy. It's just a
Doesn't have
sound
to be anything. It's
that
yeah, it's
resonates
the
with
sound.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really
And
about your
if you
experience of
want,
it.
you can use the Om. Om, right? Same sound, just from a slightly different place. It's like you're in a room, huge room, a stadium, And there is one sound, but if you're standing over here, you hear it in one way. But if you're standing over here, you hear it in a different way. But it's the same sound. It just echoes and reflects.
Yeah. So find one, each of you can find one for yourselves. It could be fun.
Yeah.
So there's one way to answer your question, Mr. Key. So Ilmar, I saw you unmuted. What did you want to share?
Well, I just have some questions. In particular, in 34, Shiva Shakti appearing in the central Nadi, that sounds to me, and here I am completely out of my depth. I mean, I have not had direct experience of this. So, but it sounds to me like what some of my friends are talking about when they talk about Kundalini rising. Is there any relation to that at all? Or is that two different things altogether?
It's two different things. And this, in a certain sense, has nothing to do with Kundalini.
Okay.
Nothing at all. And Kundalini might rise, but it is nothing that you want to encourage. As a matter of fact, we discourage Kundalini from arising in a certain sense.
And why is that?
Because it can have a lot of negative effects on you. You should talk to my friend Ramon. You may remember Ramon from some of the talks when he's been able to join us. He had his Kundalini rise in a big way, and it kept him busy for some time getting back restabilized from that. With this, there is no need to restabilize, because what comes is not energy. What comes is knowledge.
So is there any experiential sensation of Shiva Shakti appearing in the central Nadi? Or is...
No, not a particular one. Nothing that goes, look for this. Because it can be, since they're talking about specifically in the dream state, it could be any number of things. The question is, can you be awake in the dream state or not? That's the tricky part.
Okay.
I wish I could give you a more satisfying answer, but...
Well, it sounds like they're two distinct things, you know, so that's...
Yeah.
And I don't have any kind of direct experience with Kundalini at all. So it's, you know, it's just that I have friends for whom that has been a very profound experience, at least they claim, you know. But,
Yeah, it's a peak experience for some people.
Yeah. And what it is, most of the time, is you have all of this crud in your pipes, and then you blast this force up through the pipe, and it knocks all the crud loose. And then you have to deal with the crud that was just happily stuck to the sides of the pipe.
which presumably is why the advice is always to clean the crud off first, right?
Right.
Yeah, clean the stuff up
exactly.
first. And my experience is, if you clean your pipes, metaphorically speaking, first, naturally, without trying to force anything, there will come a point where the pipes are all pristine and open and gleaming and sparkly, and then the Kundalini will want to move up, and you won't have to worry about it. And it won't be a blast, it will be a, oh, we have energy. But that's
Makes
just me.
sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Omar. Where are we?
We are at 36. Just as an object, because of lack of attention, appears indistinct at first, it is more clearly perceived when we make strong exercise of one's power of perception. So it is that when the yogi manifests the power of Spanda, things appear as they truly are. Let me read that one again too. Just as an object, because of lack of attention, appears indistinct at first. It is more clearly perceived when we make strong exercise of one's power of perception. So it is that when the yogi manifests the power of Spanda, things appear as they truly are. Important keynotes here. Lack of attention. An object given to the field of consciousness that you are not attending to is indistinct. It is blurry, for lack of a better term. It is more clearly perceived when we make strong exercise of one's powers of perception. One's powers of perception are those three things that I keep harping on. They are your attention, your intention, and your presence. Be present, intend to see what is really there, and focus your attention on the object. And no matter how dim it was in the beginning, it will get clearer. And I'm sure that all of you have had experiences like this. One of my favorite things I used to do was write something on a piece of paper and stick it on a wall far away from my students and have them try and read it. And I would make sure that it was small enough and far enough away that they just couldn't read it. And then I would read it to them, and all of a sudden it would pop into focus. They would be able to see it after that because the words focus them on the thing. That's an analogy. It's not the same thing, but it's analogous to what I'm talking about here. You want that sense of attention to whatever that is out there that causes it to pop into focus. And what you want to focus on is Spanda. Make sense?
Sounds like the pointing out exercises in like Zen Buddhism or so forth, where you're essentially pointing to something that you want the person to attend to, right?
Could be. I'm not a big Zen guy, so I don't know. All I know is that you got to watch out for the guy with the stick.
Yeah.
Or wear a padded helmet, never mind.
Yeah. All right.
So, 37. In this way, everything flows within the yogi's true nature. Remembering that the yogi's true nature is one with Spanda, one with universal consciousness, one with being. Through merging with Spanda, the yogi, even though apparently weak, manifests the power to accomplish what is needed. Even without food, she is nourished. Through merging with Spanda, the truth of the body is known. The yogi, abiding within the universal vibration, exists in harmony with the world. Let's go over these three again. In this way, everything flows within the yogi's true nature. Through merging with Spanda, through merging with the universal vibration and your own universal being within that vibration, even though apparently weak, the yogi manifests the power to accomplish what is needed. Not accomplish everything, but accomplish what is needed. Even without food, she is nourished. And a lot of yogis have experienced this. A lot of people who do this work have experienced the ability to go for long periods of time without external sustenance and still be healthy and strong and able to do the work. Not recommended all the time, but it happens. Through merging with Spanda, the truth of the body is known. The yogi, abiding within the universal vibration, exists in harmony with the world. And that last part is the key here. Exists within harmony with the world. There is no resistance. There is no fighting against what is. This is what made me enamored with Adyashanti's teaching on meditation, which is allow everything to be as it already is. It is the single most brilliant, short, succinct teaching of meditation I've ever run across, and absolutely true. And this addresses that. And the idea of when you are existing within the universal vibration, you're in harmony with the world is literally musically true. All of your overtones match the overtones of the universal vibration, is one way to think of it. Now we get to a very interesting part, starting at verse 40. Just as a thief steals wealth from a dwelling, depression steals vitality from the body. Depression proceeds from ignorance. The cure is awakening consciousness. How can depression continue in the absence of its cause? Just as a thief steals the wealth from a dwelling, depression steals the vitality of the body. Depression proceeds from ignorance. The cure is awakening consciousness. How can depression continue in the absence of its cause? Now, there are going to be some people who are going to jump up and say, wait a minute, I'm clinically depressed. I have a biological imbalance in my brain that is forcing me to be this way. I'm not talking about you, all right? I'm talking about the rest of us who get depressed for reasons other than chemical imbalances. All three of us, according to modern science. So, here's the idea. If you experience the truth of reality, things like depression no longer occur. And I know this to be personally true. Noor will tell you, I don't think she's ever seen me depressed. Ever.
I've seen him have a hard time, but not be depressed in the, you know, just blah, kicking through life kind of way.
Yeah. And everybody has hard times.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much everybody. I don't know anybody who doesn't have hard times, and that includes all of the enlightened guys I know.
Yeah.
Some more than others.
And that's natural and normal, and you cope with it. But
It is
you
the
don't...
nature of living
Yeah.
on this fucking planet.
Exactly. But
Yeah. But depression is a particular thing that literally saps your energy and slows your vibration down, gets you out of sync with the universal vibration.
yeah, I mean, normally we wouldn't use that parlance, but in this context, it makes perfect sense because we
Yeah.
are talking about the universal vibration.
So,
If
yes.
one can
Really, yeah.
still verse 40, I realized if you are one with the universal vibration, that means you are aware of all the flows in your body and the 5 pranas. You realize it. And if so, that means you can only live by prana. You don't need have how do you call it, objective food.
Yeah. Though personally, I like objective food.
Okay.
This is something that in California, we had these people called breatharians.
I mean, I don't know how serious that is, but
Well, it was really serious in certain parts of the state at certain times, where
Yeah.
you had all of these people who were trying to live only by their breath.
Mhm.
And I looked at it and I thought to myself, you know, sometimes I just want a good salad. Why should I deprive myself of something? But yes, if you are connected with your prana, you can sustain yourself for long periods of time without external sustenance if you need to. I won't say that I will say that I can't go without food forever, nor would I want to. Food is good.
Yep.
And this is a Sufi thing. Yeah, because we understand that dinner with friends is one of the greatest blessings in life. But yeah, what Ailey says is true. You can go for very long periods of time just being sustained on your own energy. "41 says, awakening comes to a person whose concentration is one-pointed. Each must experience this directly." I'm going to read that one again too, because it's important. "Awakening comes to a person whose concentration is one-pointed. Each must experience this directly. Nobody can enlighten you. Nobody can burn your karma for you. Nobody can do anything for you, no matter what they say. We know of all of these gurus here and there who say, oh, just come, be my disciple, worship me, and I will set you free. And they won't. They can't. They cannot do this. You must do it for yourself. You must experience it directly through your own work. You can have help, you can have support, you can have guidance, you can have counsel, you can have all of these things, but it boils down to you have to do it. Am I sounding preachy? Because that felt pretty preachy.
I mean, it needs to be said, right?
Yeah, it does need to be said.
Yeah. Levita's into it. She's feeling it.
Yeah.
Thumbs up from her.
Then we get to 42. Then, extraordinary perceptions manifest. These will impede a person if the ego is allowed to become distracted by them. Let me read that one again. Then, extraordinary perceptions manifest. These will impede a person if the ego is allowed to become distracted by them. This is incredibly true, and this is the problem with what the yogis call the siddhis, the extraordinary powers. They will sucker you, they will seduce you, they will get you going, oh, look, I can do this. And the moment you do that, you're lost.
I often think of that as following the shiny. Like, people either want the shiny, or once they have it, they're obsessed with it.
Yeah, they go, look how cool I am. I can do this thing. When I was young, I experienced this. I had certain extraordinary perceptions. And I thought that I was the coolest thing since sliced bread because I had them. And this lasted until I realized that it was just in my way. It was just an object that was distracting me from my actual work. As a matter of fact, I'm pretty sure that that's their function. Their function is not to give you cool powers. Their function is to put you back to sleep. So just don't go there. If you discover you can levitate one day, get back on the ground and ignore it.
Harsh, bro.
Sorry, but true.
I'm more or less in agreement. So, I mean, I think it's accurate to say, again, that they are distracting. They aren't necessarily going to contribute anything of benefit unless you're already at a point where those things aren't so important to you.
Yeah. So any questions before I go on?
Yeah, of course.
I was
Um,
counting on you.
I mean, on the point of you got to do it, basically. Yeah, well, of course, I'm in complete agreement. What I'm puzzled about again is something that I don't have direct experience of. So and that is these claims of transmission, right? I mean, I imagine some of it is just hocus pocus, but some people claim that there's some kind of transmission that sometimes happens between teacher and student. I don't know if you do anything of that sort or not, but
I avoid it
is there any
whenever
validity?
possible.
Yeah, is there any validity to that stuff, or is it?
There is a certain validity to some of it, and it will be one of several things. God, my teacher in India did a talk on this about trance states and the difference between certain kinds of trance states and what they meant. And I'll see if I can find that for you. But here's the thing. I can take any of you and make you feel good. Punch your feel good buttons, right? Get your energy up. And it will seem like darshan. It will seem like I've done something to you. But I haven't. I have tricked you into doing it to yourself and made it seem like I did it. That's what you mostly get with these guys. You get magic tricks and mind games. And it never takes anybody anywhere. And you can tell. I mean, there's this one guru who I pay attention to in India. And he's been going for 20 years now, thereabouts. Has thousands of followers, none of whom have woken up. There's him as the God man and everybody else as worshippers. There isn't an awake person in the bunch. And he can get them high, but he doesn't wake them up. Now, there is a different kind of thing. We call it Baraka, which means blessing in Arabic. And that is a transmission that is designed to give you a little bit of extra energy so that you can wake yourself up. It's like a transfusion. And you can tell the difference because if I give you the magic juju that pushes all of your feel-good buttons, you look at me and you go, wow. But if I give you the baraka, you will barely notice that I had anything to do with it. If I do it really well, you won't notice that I had anything to do with it because it ain't about me. Does that make sense?
Presumably, I would feel more awake, more energized as the
Yeah,
result
you
of
would
that.
feel more
Yeah,
awake and more energized, and you would go, oh, I'm more awake and more energized.
gotcha.
And that's important at certain times along the path because in order to affect change, you have to raise your energy level above a certain threshold. If it's below that threshold, you can't change. You just don't have the juice to do it. The patterns reassert themselves over and over again. So a teacher can, under certain circumstances, give you a little transfusion of energy that gets your energy just past that threshold, and you make permanent change.
Makes sense.
But it doesn't have anything to do with the teacher. There's no magic involved. If it happens, the teacher is just being a conduit from the universal vibration. And if their ego is involved, they pay for it. And you pay for it. But mostly they pay for it.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Sure.
All right, cool.
God,
So,
I was thinking nobody's gonna be pissed off by this, but maybe I'm pissing off more people tonight than I thought.
well, we'll see how it goes, right? So I saw Zainab unmuted a while back.
Zainab, talk to us.
My question almost got answered with what
Almost.
you meant. Yeah. Yeah, so it's good now.
What was your question?
The difference between making someone feel good or whereas teaching them how to wake up.
Yes.
Because you can use that to make people do things for you or feel happy. But what if they just go back to being asleep? Then it's you would person waste their energy themselves
and
as well.
that's exactly it. So you got the meaning of that message.
Yep.
So we're almost done.
Thanks, Ada. Thanks, Omar. All right. Are we on 43? 44?
We're on 43. When the yogi infuses existence with her awareness, what use are words? She has the direct experience. And this is true because when you move into this awakened state, it is primal to linguistic abstractions. Words become less meaningful. The yogi remains present, experiencing everything as identical with Spanda. Thus her consciousness remains tranquil. And we've talked about this before, the idea of the natural state being that of Shanta, which is a state of peace and tranquility within oneself. 45 goes on to say, a person who is fixated on sequential time is deprived of his energy and becomes bound by words and concepts. And I'm going to read that again. A person who is fixated on sequential time is deprived of his energy and becomes bound by words and concepts. Caught in the play of subtle ideas and mental representations, the Amrita is dissipated, and because of this, he loses his innate freedom in identification. So, key points here. Fixated on sequential time. And that basically means clock time. Clock time is one of the most evil inventions humanity ever came up with. Bad idea. I mean, it has its uses, but we become so obsessed with it that we start living our lives by it and lose the present moment. Because if you're in clock time, you're always thinking about, oh, what do I got to do next? Or did I do that thing that I needed to do an hour ago? And all of this kind of stuff.
Okay, it's been exactly 11 minutes, you know, and then you're just too obsessed with the numbers or the dial in front of you.
And it reminds me of something I read in a Terry Pratchett book, which is the teacher, Miss Susan, asking one of her students, Jessica, if it is 5 o'clock here in Ankh-Morpork, what time is it in Klatch? And Jessica looked at Miss Susan and said, it's now in Klatch. It's always exactly now o'clock. And she got a gold star for that answer.
Yay! Everybody loves earning a gold star.
Yeah, especially for such a good answer.
Yeah. Right, so...
And the idea here is that being caught in the level of linguistic abstraction and in the level of sequential time, you dissipate the Amrit, this energy that you need to build up in yourself in order to do the work. 47 says, the power of the word is always ready to veil reality because no mental representation can free itself from language. Let me read that again. The power of the word is always ready to veil reality because no mental representation can free itself from language. Your linguistic abstractions cannot free you from your linguistic abstractions. The only thing that can free you from that is to go beyond them, to go beneath them, to get to the level before language is meaningful. And the best way I know of to do that is to ask yourself, am I asleep or am I awake right now? And look at the answer. But I digress. The energy of the universal vibration within the unawakened person enslaves him, whereas the same energy liberates the yogi. Let me read that again. The energy of the universal vibration within the unawakened person enslaves him, whereas the same energy liberates the yogi. This is one of the key verses in this text. And what it is saying is that you need energy to do anything. Energy is the ability to do work in the most literal sense. And you can use that energy either to liberate yourself or to enslave yourself, to become more and more addicted to consensual reality, to the content of your mind, to all of your considerations, to daytime serials. You know, General Hospital is calling you. And if you do that, the energy becomes completely dissipated. It is lost in your fixation upon the illusion. On the other hand, if you are working on waking up, that same energy becomes the power by which you awaken. It is the battery that keeps the little Energizer bunny going when the Energizer bunny is the work. I want you to all imagine an Energizer bunny going through pounding on the drum who has the face of G.I. Gurdjieff.
It's terrifying.
It is, isn't it?
That's gonna be in my nightmares, thanks.
Sorry about that. 49 says, the body itself becomes an obstacle that is tied to limited intelligence, conditioned feelings, and the ego. Let me go over that one again, because that is important. The body itself becomes an obstacle that is tied to limited intelligence, conditioned feelings, and the ego. To understand this, you would be best to go to the video that we did this morning and watch it all the way through, because we talk at length about this.
Yeah.
The body contains the ego, and the ego is made up of your instincts, your feelings, and your thinking. All of these are manifestations of the body. When the body dies, all of these things die. Your persona dies with your body, because the persona is made from the energy of the body that creates the ego. There's more to it than that, but I want you to go and watch the other video. So, the enslaved person ties his experiences to his beliefs and to his body image. This perpetuates the binding of the person to the wheel of samsara. The enslaved person ties his experiences to his beliefs and to his body image. This perpetuates the binding of the person to the wheel of samsara. And remember, samsara is the consensus illusionary state that we think of as our everyday reality, that which we are attached to. So enslavement is literally experiencing beliefs in body image. There is so much to that. And this is why our friend Dave does a lot with the body to force the body, or to coax the body, or to trick the body into, depending on how you want to look at it, into releasing some of that body image. So, useful stuff. When the yogi becomes established in the universal vibration of reality, she realizes the flow of emergence and dissolution as under her will. She enjoys universal freedom as a master of the dance of the Shaktis, which is the dance of the energies, basically. When the yogi becomes established in the universal vibration of reality, she realizes the flow of emergence and dissolution as under her will, because she actually has will. She enjoys universal freedom as a master of the dance of the Shaktis. And then 52 says, I offer homage to the wonderful words of my guru, who had me cross the ocean of doubt. I offer my prayer to Spanda as the blissful ocean of consciousness. May the jewel of knowledge lead all people to reality, and may they keep this jewel in the deepest part of their being. And that's the end of it. So, there you have it, a manual on how to move from the sleeping mechanical state into the awakened state. It's not the only manual, but it's a good one. Thoughts, questions?
Ailey, what do you think? I see you thinking.
Is Ailey thinking again?
Oh, it's all true. It's all true, and uh, what you demonstrate, Nor, is that you can receive my vibration. Then we are on a certain level that that one can pick it up. So we don't need words.
No.
That's what I realize. And if one of the verses, if you are in peace and tranquility, that means for me that you are in a samadhi state. That is how I understand it. And about if you see how the forces work, I have experimented with, when I go to sleep, I see myself dreaming, and I see all those forces, what is happening in me, all those images. I can bring it back. Oh, that has to do with what I did tomorrow, or a few years ago, or my wishes, and I start to laugh how those things works, and also, oh, I can change my dream. And then after a few moments, I'm in a deep sleep.
Yes. Well, I mean, there are corollaries in the sense that that is pretty much the same as being awake in the dream, right, Mishtak? Like,
Yeah.
you gain a sense of awareness that you are in something that isn't quite real, and there are different ways that people do that within the literal dreaming of sleep, but there are ways in which we do that in waking dreams. And one of those things is the am I awake or am I asleep, which is often similar to what people ask when they're literally having a lucid dream. And then they're like, all right, I see what's going on here. And then they're able to have some kind of influence, great or small, over the, you know, the progression of their dream.
Yeah. And so if you can do that, you can also in the wake state or in the daily reality, you have a hard time. You can choose from which perspective you deal with that hard time.
Yeah.
So that gives freedom.
Yes. It's not always possible to completely step out of the problem, as I'm sure you know, but having multiple vantage points from which to experience and view the problem can either allow it to dissipate somewhat or can allow a person to have the freedom, as you say, to work through it in a way that is satisfying, favorable, positive, whatever word we want to use there that's appropriate to a given scenario.
Yeah, I sense it when I have often hard times just to manage my system with the breath. Just
Yes.
go breath and my perspectives changes.
Yeah.
That's what I notice.
Yeah, and that
Yeah.
can certainly de-escalate what
Yeah,
seems
and
to
that's
be
why I point out that within our tradition, we say that our method is founded in breath. It is the very first practice and the very last.
Yeah, that's right.
So any more thoughts? I realize I've been rambling on for a while here, but I figured it was important, and if nobody listens to this, you guys have listened to it. You have been my captive audience,
So
and you will now all be enlightened
Nancy
or
was
something.
unmuted. I don't know if she had something she
Yeah.
wanted to. Would you like to share?
This is to some extent from the previous talk, but I'm wondering about the I'm trying to think how to put it, the nature of the illusions, because it seems like, you know, there is a real world, but people impose meanings on it to such an extent that most of what they think they're seeing is their imposed meanings. Is that reasonable?
Yeah, and there's some things that go with that. Terence McKenna said this thing. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Yes, the syntactical nature of reality, the real secret of magic, is that the world is made of words. And if you know the words that the world is made of, you can make of it whatever you wish. And he's talking about this level of linguistic abstraction.
Well,
Terence was a smart guy.
yeah, I've been regretting the invention of language lately, because it seems like you can talk people into anything.
Of course. Remember rule number one.
Mhm.
Most people say rule number one is people are stupid. But this is not true. Rule number one is people are asleep. I lived for a while as a professional hypnotherapist, and I was really good at it, if I do say so myself. Toot my own horn a little bit, but I can think of one or two people who were better than me, but not many. And somebody asked me, why is it that you are so successful with this? You seem to be able to put anybody into a trance. And I thought about it for a second and I said, I realized a long time ago that everybody is in a trance already. I don't have to put them where they already are. I just have to tell them things in a way that they can hear. And that was the entirety of my hypnosis practice. And I would get people to quit smoking and stop doing all sorts of stupid habits and be better people and everything, just by realizing that they were already in a trance, and I could twist that trance a little bit to get the result that they were looking for. So this does not refer to anybody here, by the way. Just so as you know, none of you are in trance. Except for maybe me.
Are you entranced?
I am
Yourself.
entrancing.
Yes.
Before words, there are senses.
Yes.
So it is by the senses that we start making words, and that is how the brain or the cognition is evolving.
Yeah, we have 2 students with newborn babies. And it is a lot of fun watching them and their babies and watch their baby experience the world without language. And you can see how quickly they begin because both of them know their name. They associate the sound with put your attention here, but they still exist mostly without language right now. And it's a really interesting, very pure state of reality in a certain way.
Yeah, you see it also in people who live in small communities. I think of the sea nomads in Indonesia. Very small communities. They need not so much words. They are, how do you say it? They are just busy with living. They are try to find food, and if they live mostly on the sea, so they don't need things. Just they live from the air and the sea or the ocean. And I think there are more of that kind of communities in the world.
Yeah, there are a few. We try and wipe them out wherever we find them, but there are a few still there.
Yeah.
You need the attitude of those people who live on that Indian island who basically, if you try and land on the island, they run out and throw spears at you until you go away.
Yeah. I hope they're still doing okay.
They're still doing okay. As far as we know, the Indian government protects them for whatever reason. They must have something on the government.
Well. Yes. Levita said, you know, language has its powers and its flaws.
Yep. It allows us to do wonderful things, and it entraps us unless we can stay awake through the process of linguistic abstraction.
Yep.
All right. We've gone for a while now. We've gone for over an hour and a half. We should probably wrap up. I'm already on Brady Bunch mode.
All right. Brady Bunch mode. Well, here we are for the second time today for some of us. Happy to be here together as always. And same goes to you guys who are watching on YouTube out there, whether, for the first time or on a replay. So
Yeah, if you made it this far, we are really happy that you put up with us.
Thank God you do. All right, so we can wave to each other and wave goodbye to whoever is watching. And we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.